the question I have for people who argue against me is, who is it that you think shouldn't be covered? Who is it that you think shouldn't?
Oh, I don't think anybody does that.
Well,
the difference
my
between
point.
you and the Republicans, I'll be fair and balanced here,
Right.
is I think they want universal coverage too. The difference between you and them, whoever your Republican opponent is,
Right.
I would guess, is that they want to see the market more involved. They want to
The
see people
market's
have
entirely-
choice.
the
They want to
market's
see people
fairly-
have choice.
Jeff,
They want to
Jeff.
see people provided funds, give them vouchers to spend on health care, but let the market, let them choose. You're more willing to allow the government to do more things.
Jeff,
I mean, that's an honest difference, I'm saying, right?
No, Jeff.
I'm not saying it pejoratively.
No. Show me the plan.
Coming right up, the best of public affairs. More Barack Obama and John McCain, Chris Matthews, Bill O'Reilly, Karl Rove, the New York Times, and much more. All with Jeff Berkowitz doing tough, challenging, and entertaining interviews. All right, Mike, let's roll tape. Look at the milestones that we had. We've had an election there. We had a constitution that has now been affirmed. We're going to have another election. 61% turnout. Well, tell me, why are those milestones not impressive to you?
Because are we sending our young men and women to Iraq to set up a constitution where women are unempowered, where it may be the setting for civil war in Iraq to
A lot of women think they will be empowered, certainly more so than under Saddam Hussein.
Oh no, that's not so.
You think they want to go back to Saddam Hussein?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Is it a model democracy? Many Republicans say they believe in less spending, less taxes, less intrusion. Put abortion aside.
Well, you can't put it aside.
You can't.
Well, women can't put it aside.
Well, you grew up as a Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And so how does that influence your view on abortion?
Well, I think it should be avoided.
But you're not ready to say something that
Well, you
the
can't use
government...
the law. You can't use the law unless you're going to criminalize it. And I don't know anyone that would put a woman in jail for 10 minutes for having an abortion. So
In your opinion, sir, does his accommodation, I think you nailed it, it's an accommodation.
There are a lot of people in politics who know politics well but can't speak worth a damn. You know, they're not well spoken at all. Barack Obama knows the issues. He is well spoken. He has a vision. That's what he's told me. That's what he's talked about from 2001
So the
to
ends
2000.
justify the means for Barack Obama.
No, it means that if you want to get to be president of the United States, you have to be somewhat of an accommodator. But I don't think for a minute, Bill, he would have accommodated or let go if he knew what Rod Blagojevich was doing and scheming in terms of this.
No, I don't either. But you know what's going to be interesting?
That's the line.
You know,
Can you clarify your position on the war? You were asked about whether you favored withdrawing troops at this point from Iraq. I'm not sure I heard an answer to that.
I have not said that I would support an immediate withdrawal, which is where my one opponent is at, and I certainly wouldn't say that I'd give us an A for execution and stay the course without questioning our progress on the security both for our forces and for the Iraqi people.
So how long might you leave the troops there?
That's something that we have to constantly be measuring the situation on the ground.
The teachers have been bounced around the system. Why do they end up in poor schools?
Because the poor schools have the least to pay and then the least to offer in terms of working conditions. Again, it comes back to vouchers. If parents in say Chicago had that $16,000 to spend at the school of choice, I assure you good quality teachers would flow to those areas, to flow to those schools where people who were paid the most, not by how long they had been in that school, but who was the best teacher.
I'm on
So
the
with
same
competition
page.
and free market.
I'm on the same page with you.
But you have to figure out a way to get competition and innovation and purchasing power to the minority parents. You have to empower the parents.
If it takes,
not the teachers, the parents.
If it takes vouchers to jumpstart the education system, then I'm all for it, and I think that's something that Barack Obama ought to look at.
And if he were here, you would tell him that, right?
Of course I would.
Okay.
Do you honestly think that people who are taking Democratic ballots, who are voting for Democrats, are doing so because of pay to play? Or could it be the caliber of the Republican Party?
Have you heard of Tired Truck, Hired Tow? Have you heard of non-Towns
And
Act?
so all these
Have you heard of using city and county government resources, notwithstanding the Schakowsky decree, to elect people in the city of Chicago, in Cook, now outside in DuPage?
So
have you heard of that,
Yes,
Professor?
Mr.
Rove, is Sarah Palin ready to be president?
Yes. Got more executive experience than the junior senator from
What about the lack of foreign policy experience?
She runs an $11 billion budget, a $1.6 billion capital budget, and 90,000 employees.
Foreign policy experience.
You know what? I'm not going to be doing a news conference here. I'm going to be taking pictures. Thanks for the microphone.
So I take that to mean, under the right circumstances, you, Barack Obama, possible U.S. Senate candidate from the state of Illinois, could support school vouchers and could even do so in your role as a state senator in the Illinois legislature?
No, what you can take that to mean is that I am willing to listen to these arguments and see if they're, if I can be persuaded that ultimately kids would be better off, then
you would support it.
I would support anything that's going to be better off for the children
Including
of
school
Illinois.
vouchers, if you're persuaded.
Whatever's on the table, I think, has to be debated.
Let me ask one on tax cuts, because that's something where the two of you differ, I believe. You have not been a fan of the Bush tax cuts. David McSweeney, of course, has.
I voted to make the tax cuts permanent.
So,
because it would have been a tax increase.
okay, and that's how you, and you'd be running on that position if you ran for president, that the Bush tax cuts were a good idea and you'd keep them.
If I run for president, I will come and talk to you first.
Should they be able to own a gun in their home to protect themselves?
I'm against more gun.
Even in their home to own a handgun?
I'm against more gun ownership. I don't think having more guns is going to make us safer as a community. I think we've got to stem the tide of guns. We're
But in their home, should they be a handgun in their home?
I don't.
Bad guy comes in, he wonders, does somebody have a gun?
I'm against more guns. We're seeing more
Female
accidental
walking down the
shootings.
street, she may be smaller than the person.
We're seeing more accidental shootings
concealed
every
carry.
day.
Have her hold a gun in her purse.
I'm not for it.
Do you have a sense of which way he's going to go with this based on your interviews with him?
Yeah, I mean, I sense he's going to try to do something to stop those missiles from coming into Israel. At the same time, he's going to urge Israel to take some initiatives. He's going to talk about more commerce, more trade, more aid to the Palestinians. He may try to go over the heads of Hamas, right to the Palestinians. I could see him going to West Bank. I could see him going to Gaza. I could see him going to Israel, and that followed up by Clinton and General Jim Jones and his foreign policy crew. He's going to be very aggressive on this.
All right, Jeff, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming on the show tonight. Thank you, sir.
That's standard.
Are you saying Julius has mob ties?
I'm making the case based on me. I think every candidate should have to.
What about his handling as state treasurer? You know, big losses in the Bright Start Fund. Should he take the hit for that?
I think everyone's got to defend their own work history, and I think that that's relevant. And I think he'll be answering questions about that, and we're all going to be talking about what our records are and why we think it's the best record.
Real quick, cap and trade, you're for that?
I think that's a good plan.
You don't think it's going to be a heavy tax and hurt the economy?
I don't. I think we've got to be leaders in both environmentally solid policies that are good for American business.
You want to see lower taxes. You came in New Mexico.
You
lowered the cut taxes from 8% to 4.9, right?
Yes, and capital gains, and I cut taxes
a guy like
for
you,
businesses.
You must be for the Bush tax cuts, right?
I would not get rid of all of them. I would get rid of the 2%, but I would replace his tax cuts with tax cuts for the middle class.
So give me an income level. Would you raise taxes for families with incomes over $150,000?
That's in some cases middle class.
So would you? So you wouldn't raise it for over $150,000.
Well,
raise it for over $200,000. What's the number?
I got to get my plans out.
You don't know?
But I am not. No, I'm not a tax raiser.
How would you have voted a few months ago when they had the vote on the so-called Iraq War Powers Resolution? Would you have? Is the Democratic Party split on that?
I think there is a division.
And how would you have voted? Would you have supported that resolution? Voted yay or nay?
If it had come to me in an up or down vote as it came, I think I would have agreed with our senior Senator Dick Durbin and voted nay.
Abortion, you're 1,000% pro-choice?
I am pro-choice.
Pro-gun control?
I'm pro-law enforcement, and that informs my feelings about gun control. I believe in the Second Amendment right to guns. But
Bring back the ban on assault weapons?
Absolutely.
Same-sex marriage?
I am for it.
But this is a school-enforced pledge of allegiance to the country, the United States of America,
exactly right.
which you take no exception to.
That's exactly right.
Even if it says under God.
Even though that phrase exists.
Okay. The bad guys keep getting guns.
Bad guys are absolutely
Shootings outside the taste of Chicago, you saw that.
And we've got to get these
gun
guns
control didn't do
out of
anything
the
for
city.
that.
They've got to come out.
Time for a new approach.
Time
for
is
change.
You
know that slogan,
absolutely.
change?
I like that. It's time for a change.
Barack Obama.
Let me do something real quick.
Okay.
More or less? Should we have more aggressive interrogations or less?
Less.
Should we have more warrantless wiretaps involving foreign domestic calls or fewer?
Fewer, but with court orders. You can do them because we got to stop terrorism.
You believe in the global war on terrorism?
Yes, I do.
It's not a bumper sticker, as John Edwards says.
I disagree with Senator Edwards and Senator Clinton.
The major issue of the day is, of course, Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. If you had been in Congress when that vote had occurred, way back when, I guess in the fall or thereabouts, and George W. Bush asked for a resolution authorizing him to use force in Iraq or something to that effect, how would you have voted, Rahm Emanuel? You would have voted?
For it.
FDR started Social Security, and he said, you say in your book, he insisted that it not be a welfare program.
Right.
Well, wasn't it a welfare program because you had people initially who benefited and you didn't pay a dime?
The whole idea of Social Security was that you paid in during your working life into a distinct, dedicated fund, and it would not be mixed in with the general revenue, so that people would feel and know that the money they got out when they retired is money they kicked in. So the principle of self-help will be honored. He was a brilliant man that way. He understood America.
All right, we got to go. We want to thank Chris Matthews,
Thanks, Jeff.
father and creator of Hardball.
Very intensive interview.
Thank you very much, Chris.
During one of Mr. Berkowitz's signature moments, using a backpack to demonstrate a point about his pet issue, school vouchers.
We spend about $10,000 per year operating costs.
I'll
$200,000 are failing
use
students.
this opportunity to get my drink of water.
All right, use that opportunity.
In the intervening years, Mr. Obama has moved on to much bigger stages and interviewers, but it was those early interactions that may reveal the most about the candidate Mr. Obama has become.
Brock, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Jeff. Okay. I enjoy it.
There you go, folks. Tough, fair, entertaining, challenging interviews. That's what we do. That's public affairs. That's our trademark. I think Obama and McCain and Rahm Emanuel and all the rest liked it. I think the viewers liked it, and we hope you did. And if you did, there's only one thing left to do. Call me. That's Jeff Berkowitz, 312-214-6122. Try me on email, jbcg@aol.com. Go ahead, give me a call, and we're going to make some good TV.